Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Right.
Fucking thing sucks.
In 5, 4, 3.
Good morning and what is up, people? Dropped it. I'm already. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Morning Show. I'm your host, Austin Thompson. I feel like I do not normally introduce myself, but also it says my name right there. It's there. Yeah, that is. It's hard to see yourself on a screen and remember which way you have to point. There. Okay. Anyway, welcome to the show. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I know you have tons of options and you can be anywhere you want, but you're here, and I think that's great. Let's see. We have survived week 1 of NFL football, which is saying a lot considering the shit show that week 1 actually was for a lot of people. So, with that being said, congratulations. You made it through week 1. Now it's on to week 2, as Belichick would say. It was it was rough. I mean, I'm in 6 leagues, and I managed to win in all but 2. I won in a Scott Fish Bowl, which is really, really awesome and kind of important to me. It's kind of a big deal. So I was excited about that. There's a lot of mayhem this week. I think a buddy of mine was talking to me a little while ago, and I forget, he read a tweet, and it boiled down to, like, if you had Aaron Rodgers, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, and I think there was 2 other players listed, you would have had basically 21 fantasy points. It was a brutal week. No OBJ, who was in a scratch. He wasn't a healthy scratch, but he was a scratch after the warm-ups. So that was no fun for anybody. Anyway, we're on to week 2. So I wanted to get on here and talk about some players. The players that did the best last week, and whether or not I think that is necessarily repeatable. Some people were, victims of circumstance, in my opinion. There's a lot of stuff that was just fluky. Do I think Aaron Rodgers is a bad play? I literally saw a tweet where somebody said that they had Aaron Rodgers and who else? Now I can't even think of who it was. It was Aaron Rodgers and another player. And the question was legitimately asked was, should I trade them away now? I was like, I wish she was in my league, because I would have gladly been like, yeah, trade him. I'll take him. Anyway, I'm going to pull an Aaron Rodgers from a couple years back and just say, relax. That's what you have to do in fantasy football. I have been the victim of week 1 panic on more than one occasion. I have jettisoned a lot of players that ended up being really good later in the season. So I'm going to give you the suggestion, and it's what I've been doing the last couple of years, and it is, unless your player is hurt irreparably or just completely useless to you, as far as you can't play them for whatever reason it might be, due to physical injury, I pretty much hold every player I had until week 3. If you're going to trade somebody, cool. If you're going to find a trade partner, but don't just – I mean, I got rid of Cam Newton in the league yesterday in the Scott Fish Bowl, and I feel okay with it because I have other quarterbacks. I also have a waiver claim for Tyler Heineke, so we'll see how that goes. But just, calm yourself down, get yourself, some perspective on these players. And you got to make, I also am the same guy who always says that no player is undroppable, which I also believe. If a player isn't useful to you for the way that you want to play and you think you can win without him, get rid of him. But don't just get rid of somebody for the sake of getting rid of them. Trade them off. Don't just drop some player because they had a bad week. After week 3, it's fair game. You're coming up on buys. You're coming up on a lot of different scenarios, and it is 100% okay to do it then. But just don't get too cute. That's all I'm saying. So as it stands right now, the top running backs of the week were Joe Mixon, Nick Chubb, Christian McCaffrey, David Montgomery, Melvin Gordon, Jamal Williams, Eli Mitchell, and DeAndre Swift. Josh Jacobs makes an appearance with just a little bit less than 10 fantasy points on Yahoo. And my thing about Josh Jacobs is he was clearly hurt, and I don't know if I trust the injury. That was a lot of gamesmanship, in my opinion. I think it's a toe injury he's got, and he did not look that great. I think his numbers wouldn't be in your top 10 or 12 as far as running backs if it wasn't for the fact that that game went to overtime. So keep that in mind. A lot of people are high on Eli Mitchell, which I'm not opposed to, but don't forget that Trey Sermon's out there. Don't forget also that Hasty is there. I know that Mostert is injured, but we don't know what's going to happen yet. So, if you want to go pick up Eli Mitchell, cool. Don't bank on that as being 100%, guaranteed lock for being the starter next week. So, tread lightly on that one. In the area of quarterbacks, let's go. Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, Jameis Winston, Tom Brady, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Russell Williams, Derek Carr. Once again, Carr, his game went to overtime. I'm sorry, I'm just not that high on Derek Carr personally. Is he a serviceable quarterback? Yes. Is he going to have every game like that? I don't know. I think game script played a lot into that game. Also, so did the overtime. Someone else, there's a potential I'm going to be wrong on this because I just don't like this guy as a person. So let me preface the entire statement by saying that. But Jameis Winston, I don't think the Jameis Winston we saw is necessarily the Jameis Winston that is 100% there. Now, after 3 games, if he shows it to me, then cool. Sean Payton fixed him. But I still think that in the back of Jameis's head, there's a chance that he might go back to being the guy who tries to force the ball. So just be wary. Ride it till it dies. If it doesn't die, cool. But I want to tell everybody to be wary of Jameis, in my opinion, because I personally don't trust him. I think Dak Prescott is going to ball this year. I think that he has a lot to prove. I don't know how good the Cowboys will be as a whole, but if you tell me that Dak Prescott is a top 10 quarterback for the rest of the entire season, I do not doubt that statement at all. Let's see if I have any comments in the chat. I do not. Okay. Yeah. Tyrod Taylor is coming up there towards the end, and I also am not sure what Houston's going to be. Houston played Jacksonville. Let's not forget that happened. So I think Tyrod Taylor is a good NFL quarterback. I do not know how good he'll be for fantasy. So you want to kind of tread lightly on that one. If you're in a 12 or 16 team league, get Tyrod Taylor. Hopefully he's not your starter, but if you lost to Fitzpatrick, and your other guy was Trevor Lawrence, getting Tyrod Taylor isn't a bad idea, if that makes any sense. So let's see. Wide receivers. I think my favorite thing from this year is probably going to be the memes of Patrick Mahomes going, fuck it, Tyreek's out there somewhere, because he is for the most part. Tyreek Hill ends up being the number one. Is he? Hold on. Yeah, he was the number one fantasy receiver this week. Followed by Amari Cooper, Deebo Samuel, Tyler Lockett, Corey Davis, Adam Thielen, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk. It's interesting. I do like him. Not 100% sure that Christian Kirk is going to be a thing all year. So having him on your bench could be good. I don't know if I'm going to count him as a go-to starter. Antonio Brown, I feel like is the real deal, and I have tried to get him everywhere. I drafted him intentionally, got him late whenever I could. I think I probably have him on every one of my teams, and I feel really good about that because Antonio Brown's going to fluctuate between being your second and your third option. I personally feel like Chris Godwin is the number one option. Mike Evans has a lot of upside, but I think that he gets overshadowed by injury sometimes. We will have to see and watch and see how that goes throughout the season. Other receivers of note: Sterling Shepard, Cooper Kupp, and CeeDee Lamb. Let's see. I feel like throughout the season, CeeDee Lamb is going to, or could possibly surpass and at least catch Amari Cooper. They could be a 1A, 1B situation. They could be a lot like Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. They could be a lot like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. If I had to pick a Dallas Cowboys receiver, I personally would pick CeeDee Lamb. But you can't literally go wrong right now with either one of those guys as long as the offense is humming. So something to think about. Next to the thing we all love and hate, or love to hate, tight ends. Rob Gronkowski is the number one tight end this week, followed by Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson, Darren Waller, Juwan Johnson, Dallas Goedert, Logan Thomas, Chris Manhertz. Manhertz. I'm probably saying his name wrong, but it's just funny to say Manhertz. So also after that was Gerald Everett and George Kittle. I am not a big Kittle person. I do think he's very, very good at what he does. I just don't know how well he's always going to be for fantasy. So I'm not necessarily him being where he is in the top 10 isn't a huge issue to me. He's definitely somebody you want to start if you have him. To Hawkinson, I think belongs. I've got Hawkinson in my top 3. I'll probably continue to have him in my top 3 the rest of the season until he proves me wrong. But he is currently basically the number one receiver in Detroit. So there's that. Rob Gronkowski, I think this may have been an outlier. I've heard people say, is this, the old Gronk? No, I think as the season goes on, wear and tear in your body. Is he talented? Yes. Do you want to go against him? No. He's the guy's a beast. He's had, all of the COVID year of NFL. He's had a year off. He had the COVID year of NFL. Where he went to Super Bowl. So there was a longer season, but he didn't play this way last year. He's had another off season to get healthy. He's got a great team. I believe those guys are really, really hyped up. I just don't know that he's a top 5 tight end for the rest of the year. Top 10, I don't doubt it. As long as he doesn't go to some kind of blocking role. And as long as he doesn't get injured. And I think the way that he's taking care of his body, I'm sure there's a little bit of TB12 help there also. So Gronk is definitely going to be a top 10 until he's not once again. I just don't know if I'd count on being top 5 rest of the season. Chris Manhertz, I'm sorry. Let me just go ahead and put this one out here. I don't think Urban Meyer is a good NFL coach. I don't think he will be a good NFL coach the rest of this year. I hope like hell he is not an NFL coach next year because I don't think he's good for the sport or for the team. So with that being said, I've got no idea what Jacksonville's doing. So I'm just basically fading the shit out of all their players. If you have Trevor Lawrence, you keep trotting him out there and starting him. I don't hate it. The guy's got all the talent in the world. I just don't know what the offense is going to be. Look at James Robinson's numbers. They're not what anybody thought they should be or anybody expected. And they could be the polar opposite this week. They could go in there and he could run the ball, 60% of the time, which would make James Robinson a fantasy stud, an NFL stud also, which he is. I mean, he is a phenomenal athlete. He is a great fantasy asset to have when he's being used. But I don't think Urban Meyer has any idea how to coach an NFL offense. Great in college, yes. NFL is a whole different ballgame. And for the purposes of fantasy football, I think that relying on Jacksonville's players is a real tough call. If you were gutsy enough to do it and it works out for you, hey, kudos to you, pal. But I can't do it. I cannot. I am fading every single Jacksonville player. I am in DFS targeting them as somebody that I want to exploit. So let's take that for what it's worth. Let's see. Defenses. Let's go kickers. Let's go because if you don't know, now you know. I am not a fan of kickers. Grown people kicking an oblong ball held by another dude is very, very unpredictable, in my opinion. So I do not ever know what's going to happen, and I don't like that. I respect kickers as athletes, but yeah, there's too much variance, so I don't love them. But if I have a league where I have to play them, I try and do the best I can with them. But in my opinion, it's a crapshoot every week. Although I will say, if I got to pick a kicker, it's Blankenship, his name, with the glasses, or Young Ho, which I know was really pronounced Young Wei. I just like calling him Young Ho because I just think it's a great name. Yeah, so your top kickers were Robbie Gould, Joey Sly, Chris Boswell, Dustin Hopkins, Greg Zuerlein, who did not start out great in that game. Matt Gay, who I'm sure has to hate his name, Daniel Carlson, Tyler Bass, Nick Folk, and Evan McPherson. There's no telling who it'll be next week. It could totally be different. We'll have to see how that goes. Kicking is kind of a game flow dependent thing. So, that's why I enjoy playing in leagues where I don't have to use kickers. Defenses. I believe all of the top defenses are so legit. I was very surprised that Arizona's defense was as good as it is. And they may not be top 3 all season, but top 10 for sure. New Orleans is second. Pittsburgh is third. San Fran is fourth, followed by Philadelphia, Carolina, Denver, and Los Angeles. Houston's defense comes in at the end, and I do not trust that. That's the one thing about numbers like this. It is only week 1. You're going to want to have a sample size of the first 3 weeks to kind of judge who it is you want to make your ride or dies, who it is you want to, stick with. Also, kickers and defenses, I am totally all for streaming them if you can. If you feel the need to. typically what I do on YouTube, Jesus, what I do in Yahoo leagues where you have to have a kicker is I will go in today and I will drop my kicker and my defense so I can roster extra players. And then I will pick up a kicker and defense either Thursday during the day or Friday. Depends on if the defense I really want is the one on Thursday, which I usually don't want the Thursday night defense because it's hit or miss. So there is that. Yeah, of this list, Houston is the one I trust the least. The Rams defense is, if you have the Rams defense in a redraft league, that is one I would definitely consider not streaming or not dropping. Same for the Saints and the Steelers until injuries start becoming a part. And it's everything with fantasy football is this way. When injuries become a factor, things change. But as far as organizations as a whole that I think are very solid, it is definitely New Orleans, Pittsburgh, and Rams, Los Angeles for the defenses for me. That is about it for that. Still waiting on some injury news. I don't think there has been anything just super glaring that has come out this morning. Let's see. I mean, we already know that Fitzpatrick has the hip issue. He's out for a couple of weeks. Jerry Jeudy, high ankle sprain, which I hate. I hate that for him as a person because they suck. They are painful. I also hate it for him as an athlete and fantasy player or as a NFL player because of the fact that everybody's body heals differently and you don't really know how it's going to affect him. If it's going to be a lingering issue, there's a lot of guys who have high ankle sprains who come back from them and are not good or not the same rest of the season. And I was really hoping and thinking that Jerry Jeudy would be the guy in Denver. So as it stands right now, it could be #Tim Patrick season. So we will see how that goes. I think that if you have Jeudy and you have the ability to get Tim Patrick, do it. Raheem Mostert, we know he has a knee injury. Not sure how long that's going to linger and be out there. Like I said, do not forget that Trey Sermon's out there, even though he was a healthy scratch the other day. And also be aware that Hasty scored a touchdown. So you want to keep that in mind. Hit the waiver wire hard. For people who don't know this, and if you haven't been playing for long, the waiver wire can help you win a week that, especially after a week one like this, where there's a lot of confusion and anxiety and not knowing with players and stuff like that, and a lot of frustration. Coming into a week like this, hit the waiver wire and find some guys that are sneaky good picks. Also, during the weekend, if you can free up some spots on your roster somehow with some players that just haven't panned out, you might want to do that, especially if you have some last minute. If Ezekiel Elliott ends up being a non-starter next weekend and Tony Pollard's available in your league, you want to have the ability to pick him up, even if you don't need him, just because you don't want somebody else to play him against you. So that is something to be thinking about. Gamesmanship, to me, is a huge part of fantasy football, but also just being on the waiver wire constantly. So that is it. I'm keeping it short and sweet this week. So with that being said, so long, and thanks for all the fish.